So in biology, there's this super important idea that pops its head up all of the time, that something's structure dictates its function. How the thing is built, like physically shaped, determines what it is allowed to do, what effects it is allowed to cause. It is a lovely, beautifully vicious circle. In order to perform a function, you must have a certain structure. In order to have that structure, you must need to perform a function. And you, lovely, smart people that you are, know by now that the reason I'm talking about this is that it has something to do with books. But what it has to do with books is going to have to wait until later in the video. Hey, beautiful people of the internet, my name is Ryan, and finally, oh my god, this has been so long in coming. This is my book review for 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Disclaimer, this review, like a healthy human gut, comes in 3 parts. The basics about the book, my personal reaction to it, and finally, the question that keeps us all tossing and turning and tossing and turning and tossing at night: should I read the book? Okay. Also, there will be no spoilers. Let's do it. Okay, first, the basics about the book. 100 Years of Solitude is the second novel and the most famous book of Colombian writer Gabriel Garcia Marquez. My edition of the book was translated by Gregory Rabassa and is 417 pages long. 100 Years of Solitude was first published in 1967, and it is kind of largely considered to be the birth of magical realism, or at least the birth of popularity of Latin American magical realism. There are about 100 other videos out there if you're looking for more of an in-depth conversation about magical realism, but I personally think that that is not the most interesting thing that this book has to offer, and so I'm going to move past that. I knew the second I picked up this book I was going to have a lot of fun trying to introduce the plot. So, let's see. Before you encounter a chapter 1 or a prologue in this book, the first thing that you will see is a family tree. And oh my lord, what a family tree it is. There's incest, there's cross-generational incest, there is the reappearance of names throughout generations, except slightly mutated over time like some kind of monster. And the effect of this is that you know before you turn the first page how much fun you're going to have watching this family pretzel and bend itself into the contorted shape that is this family tree. 100 Years of Solitude is the 100+ year story of the Buendia family in the magical town of Macondo in Colombia. We see 5, 6, 7 generations of the family, starting with the founding father of the town, Jose Arcadio Buendia, and his wife Ursula. Macondo starts off as a lovely, lonely haven of solitude, and then also mutates over time as technology and industrialization enter via the railroad, as well as armies and government officials. And that's all well and good. We've heard that story a number of times. A nice place gets destroyed by governments and institutions. Except that this story is different. First, Macondo is not an ordinary town, and odd things keep happening. And second, Gabriel Garcia Marquez tells us all of these odd things in a flat tone that kind of suggests a well of course attitude. And that is important in a town and with a family where history keeps repeating itself. Okay, part 2 is my personal reaction to the book, and I want to be really freaking clear about something, okay? I did react to the book, but I reacted in 2 very different ways. What I mean by that is that after about 100 pages, I was feeling frankly underwhelmed. I did that thing where you admire a book and you can tell that it's well written, but you just feel like you must be missing something if everyone else feels so strongly about it. However, I come bearing good tidings because that changed. That changed a lot. Around the middle of the book, it picked up for me, and the last chapter, I had chills the entire time. I was like shushing people who were trying to talk to me. I was trying so hard not to rush ahead and not to miss anything, even though I needed to. I needed to know how it ended. It was one of those reading experiences, the really special ones. And the reason for that, for me at least, goes back to our biology idea that structure dictates function. In book terms, though, we usually say form and content, as in a book has unity of form and content. A book's structure is its form, and its contents is its function. What do a book's chapters look like? Or the paragraphs, or the sentences, the metaphors, the descriptions? Are they cold or warm? Is it distant, or is it close? Those are usually form questions. On the other hand are questions like, what does the book make you feel? What are the, God I hate this word, themes or ideas? What's the story? These are content questions. I guess what I'm trying to say, what I've spent this entire video trying to say, is that 100 Years of Solitude is the single best example I have ever read of a unity between form and content, between structure and function. And again, I won't do spoilers, but you do need to know what I mean. What I mean is that what the book takes on as its contents, which are things like family and solitude and history and lots of other things, both concrete and abstract. Those things are directly reflected in the form by the end of the book. In fact, it is so far beyond directly reflected. Like, the specific form allowed the specific content to have new meaning, which allowed the specific form to have new meaning, and on and on and on and on and on, and you're just suddenly like taken away in this tornado of new meaning. You get lifted and your vision gets blurry and you feel lightheaded, all because of that boring as hell phrase that we use. The unity of form and content. It's hilarious to me that a phrase that boring can be responsible for so much magic. Okay, and finally, part 3 is 100 Years of Solitude, on that short list of things that you should spend your time and your money and yourself on. Should you read 100 Years of Solitude? My opinion on this question also changed over the course of the book. I'm always looking for those classics that shouldn't be classics, that are overrated, because it is so much fun to poke holes in the canon. But alas, 100 Years of Solitude is not that book. I knew as soon as I finished it that I was going to be recommending this book to almost everyone I meet. 100 Years of Solitude is an epic in what it sets out to do. In this book, Gabriel Garcia Marquez spans generations, he stretches and loops time, he even runs actual historical events through a food processor so that they are both more and less easily digestible. And then, after all of that, he somehow magically manages to contort the form of the book he's writing to fit the story that he's telling. And all of that is definitely worth reading. Alrighty, that is all that I've got for this week's video. Hopefully the lighting didn't change too much during the video. I have had so many problems off camera with trying to get this thing filmed. I'm nervous about even saying them out loud because I figured that the camera is going to break as soon as I start talking about it. Anyways, that's all.
Problems on camera.
Also problems off camera with roommates. Anyways, that is all that I've got for you this week. If you liked this book review, I have a playlist of similar book reviews down in the description below, and also the subscribe to my channel button. That didn't come out right. Anyways, thanks for sticking it out with me in this video if you made it all the way to the end, and I will see you guys next Monday with a brand new video. In the meantime, though, best wishes! Hey, beautiful people of the internet, my name is Ryan, and like the title of this video promises, today I am going to be reviewing the daunting, masterful Gravity's Rainbow by Thomas Pynchon. And yes, I'm going to say his name wrong the entire video. So I know I said I wasn't going to talk much about magical realism in this video, but if I put it after the end screen, that doesn't actually count, right? I want to do one thing really quickly. I want to talk about how the very first line of this book embodies two huge things about magical realism. Many years later, as he faced the firing squad, Colonel Aureliano Buendia was to remember that distant afternoon when his father took him to discover ice. Okay, so two things. First, notice how that is inverted, how the huge and the fantastical and the big event of a firing squad gets played off as mundane, but the actual everyday item that we now have downstairs in our freezers and or anytime it's winter gets played off as something to be discovered. And number two, specifically the phrasing of discover ice, to feel wonder at something mundane. That is magical realism. Alright, that's all I got. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!